Today we started with the Old Buccaneer Chapter 1, The Old Sea Dog at the Admiral Benbow. From the Treasure Island, Square Trail and Bay, Dr. Wilsey and the rest of these gentlemen have asked me to write down the whole particulars about the Treasure Island. From the beginning to the end, keeping nothing back but the bearings of the island, and that only because there is still dust not yet lifted. I take up my pen in the year of the grace 17 and go back to the time when my father kept Admiral Benbow in the brown old seaman. The Sabre cut first took up his lodging under over roof. I remember him as if it were yesterday. He came plodding to the inn door, the sea chest following behind him in a hand broom. A tall, strong, heavy, nut-brown man, his tarry pigtail failing over the shoulders of his soiled blue coat, his hands ragged and scattered with black broken nails, and the sabre cut across the one neck, a dirty livid white. I remember him looking round the cove and whistling to himself as he did so, and then breaking out into that old sea song that he sang so often afterwards. 50 men and dead man chest, oh yo ho ho, and bottle of rum, in the high, old, tottering voice that seemed to have been tuned, unbroken at the captain bars. Then he rapped on the door with a bit of stick like a handspike that he carried, and when my father appeared, called roughly for a glass of rum. This, when it was brought to him, I drank slowly like a connoisseur, lingering on the taste and still looking around him at the cliffs up at over signboard. This is a handy cove, says he at the length, and pleasant city settled crop shop. Much company made. My father told him no, very little company. There, the more was the pity. Well then, said he, this is the berth for him. Here you, matey, he cried to the man he trundled the barrow. Bring up alongside and help up my chest. I'll stay here a bit, he continued. I'm a plan. Now rum and bacon and eggs is what I want. And that head up there for the watch ships off. What you might call me. You might call me captain. Oh, I see what you are at there, and threw down the 3 or 4 gold pieces on the threshold. You can tell me when I have worked the throw out. He says it, looking as fierce as the commander. Indeed, bade his clothes were and coarsely as he spoke. He had none the affiance of the man who shall be before the mast, but seemed like a mate or skipper accustomed to be obeyed or to strike. The man who came with the barrows told up the mail had set him down the morning before the Royal George, that he had inquired what inns there were along the coast, and he was all spoken of, I suppose, and described as lonely, had chosen it from the others from his place of residence. And that was all we could learn of our guest. He was a very silent man by custom. All day he hung round the cove or upon the cliffs with a brass telescope. All in sat in a corner of the parlor next to the fire and drank rum and water very strong. Mostly he wouldn't speak, we when spoken to. Only look up sudden fierce and blow brought his noise like a foghorn, and we and the people who came out about our house soon learned to let him be. Every day when he came back from his stroll, he would ask if any seafaring man had gone by along the road. At first we thought it was a want of company of his own kind that he made ask his question, but last we began to see he was desirous to avoid them. When a seaman put up at the Admiral Benbow, as now and then some did, making by the coast road for the Bristol, he would look in at him through that curtain door before entering the parlor, and he always sure to be as silent as a mouse when any such as present. For me, at last, There was no secret about the matter, for I was in a way a sharer in his alarms. He had taken me aside one day and promised me a silver fourpenny on the first of every month if I would only keep my weather eye open for a seafaring man with a one leg, and let him know the moment he appeared. Often enough, when the first of the month came round and I applied to him for my wage, he would only blow through his nose at me and stare me down. But before the week was out, he was sure to think better of it, bring me off my fourpenny piece, and repeat his orders to look out for the seafaring man with one leg. How the person was haunted by my dreams, I need scarcely tell you. On stormy nights, when the wind shook the four corners of the house and the surf roared along the cove and up the cliffs, I would see him in 1,000 forms and with 1,000 diabolical expressions. Now the leg would be cut off at the knee, now at the hip. Now he was a monstrous kind of a creature who had never had but the one leg, and that in the middle of his body. To see him leap and run and pursue me over hedge and ditch was the worst of nightmares, and altogether I was paid pretty dear for my monthly fourpenny piece in the shape of these abominable fancies. This is the story. Second one will be next, and don't forget to subscribe me.